I've gotten a lot of feedback on my last video about the audit, specifically from the people who don't like it, as we sort of predicted would happen. But there is one deleted scene from that video, and I just have to play it for you now. Anytime that they are wrong, they just double down. Even if the numbers are in black and white ink in front of their face, they will look you in the eye and say, no, that's not true. And that is actually what we saw in the rest of the feedback. Actually, they even took it a step farther. Not only are they denying the numbers, but now they're actually saying that what was uploaded to FAC.GOV isn't the real audit. No. That's not a thing. And if I'm wrong, I will come on here and say it. But the reason I don't think I'm wrong is because they are avoiding the conversation about the numbers at all costs. What they're doing now is to try to talk about the process, to distract us from the issue that the numbers prove you were overtaxed. When you watch my video and you see the numbers and the facts I provide, I even tell you how to go retrieve the audit yourself. But I don't want you to just watch what I put out. I want you to go to my posts and I want you to read Mayor Galimi's comment. He put on my Facebook and my Instagram. And then I want you to go to the Talk of the Town interview with Councilwoman Samantha Klasmo-Testa. Because what you'll see is those two can't even get their story straight. And I'll just give you the cliff notes. But on one hand, Mayor Galimi writes that it's important to note that the deficit in fiscal year 2024 does not account for one-time retroactive lump sum payments scheduled for fiscal year 2025, the one we're in now. I disagree with him because it was. They were paid in August 2023, as I listed in my video. And if you listen to the Talk of the Town interview, the Councilwoman Samantha Klasmo-Testa confirms, yes, they were paid. Let it be known, the whole reason I brought up the retroactive payment is because that means this $1.1 million deficit is largely due to one-time payments. So the logic follows, why would we tax you 14% more for every year to come when we had to pay off this retroactive fire payment once? So then Mayor Galimi's comment to me also says, your entire video is premised on the deficit in his final year, Palmieri's, and has nothing to do with the budget I planned. But when you listen to the Talk of the Town interview with Samantha, she says, yeah, of course, the deficit from that year had to do with the budget that we're currently in and why your taxes were raised. And you know what? When I was on Talk of the Town, Mark Wolber asked me, why would they raise taxes this much if they didn't have to? And I can understand the confusion with that, which is why I wish I just bluntly said, because I don't think they knew what they were doing. I don't. I think when the new administration took over, they were so blinded by their bias that the last administration did everything wrong, that they were so resistant for any sort of feedback or bringing anybody into the conversation who had been there before. And then they started finding themselves being in a position where they were making it up as they were going. And this is the result. But worst of all, we're finding out every time they're wrong, they cannot admit it. And they double down. And then they try to tell you that was the plan the entire time when it absolutely wasn't. And nothing's going to change until they can start admitting when they're wrong. And I don't mean to make this personal, but unfortunately it is personal for 65,000 people. When we say $1.1 million deficit, I'm not even conceding that that's what it should have been because that's completely fabricated. This deficit only exists because they want it to. Don't forget that. But for the sake of this argument, let's say this $1.1 million deficit is completely legit. It's still over $750,000 off from what Mayor Galimi predicted. So remember what I said when they will look at these numbers in black and white ink and tell you no, that's not true? Well, Mayor Galimi's response to my video, if you read his comment, he comes out and he says, what this audit does prove is that my predictions in the presentation last year were accurate, and they were based on sound math and proper accounting. 41%. That's how off he was. Tell me, are these two numbers the same? Is that accurate? Because I'll tell you what, that difference of over $750,000 is the equivalent of 2.5% property tax. And that's why this matters. It's not the same. And I was already angry when we overtaxed you to begin with, but now I'm even angrier that they're doubling down and then lying about the information, hiding it, and just flat out gaslighting us. Despite the New York State Controller's Office giving us a fiscal stress score of 0 2 years in a row, despite Standard & Poor's giving us an A credit rating for the first time in 30 years, despite everything Bonadio has listed in this audit, and despite no other city has raised taxes to the extent we have in New York State, maybe now the city can get a real sense of the state of our finances and correct course. But until they can admit their errors, if they are still committed to living in their delusion of the state of our finances, I am terrified for the city of what they're about to propose in this next budget. And I know all of this might be a little confusing right now. You're probably listening to this thinking, I'm not a CPA. I don't know these numbers. I don't know who's right. I don't know who's wrong. And I can totally relate. It took me actually being in government to fully grasp what's happening here. It's a full-time job, honestly. But you can tell when somebody's lying. You can listen to their story and see if and when it changes. You can see how and when they double down. You can see it when they're asked a question and they're quick to change the topic because they don't want to answer it. You can spot it when they're trying to tell you things like they were for the downtown hospital all along, even though the last 5 years will tell you that wasn't the case. These are the tactics. These are the patterns. And I'm telling you, the only way to stop it is to spot it when it's happening and to call it out for what it is. That is our only hope. And while I can come on here and make these posts and inform the public, let's be real. They don't care what I have to say. I will literally be in a council meeting. I will say point of order. And Samantha will say point of order all you want and mock the rules of order. But they do care what the voters and taxpayers have to say. You guys hold the power. And if you don't speak up, I don't know what's going to happen in this next year's budget. I can fight for you all I want, and I do it every day, but we don't have a veto-proof council, unfortunately. So this is on the voters. This is on you. I will keep giving you all the information you need, all the facts and links and proof, and help you spot those discrepancies until you get the patterns and understand them for yourself. But if you don't speak up, nothing's going to change. And this isn't about a Republican versus Democrat thing. Yes, it is a Mayor Galimi and Councilwoman Samantha Clausen-Testa thing, for sure. She seems to really run a lot of the show. And I say that because she was one of the top vote getters, so she's in it to listen to you guys. And if she's not, now is the time to find out.